Jump in and start with the battery. First, we've got a Shuriken AGM battery. This is a very high-end battery, and we'll talk about batteries in a later section, but it's just similar to the one in your car. You've got a positive and a negative. In your vehicle, you've got a negative ground wire, and you obviously have a positive. In most cars, you have the chassis or the entire car is a ground. So this is mimicking the chassis, the frame, everything of your car. And then here we've got the positive. And obviously in a car or even in a boat, you'd have an alternator that powers this battery, because while the car is running, it's charging this battery. All right, let me jump in here. Here I've got my positive and negative. Now, the reason that I'm covering these basics is if you understand the battery and you understand that electricity requires it flows in a circular motion, it's easier to build the rest of the system. There's a start, there has to be a start and an end. In this case, I've got these little LED lights set up. Now, if I take this and obviously I plug it into here, I've got an open circuit. There's no continuity. But when I take and I connect it to the chassis of my car, I've got electricity flowing from my positive, flowing down into the lights, lighting it up, and then coming back into the negative. And this is creating a circuit. Why am I explaining this? Because when you guys are installing your stereo system, your speaker wires and just about every part of your car is going to require a circuit. So if you understand this basic concept here of just how your battery works, it's not that hard to understand the rest of the system. You know, you're going to start seeing, as we start building the system, you're going to see more and more wires, and it's going to look a little more complex. But if you can keep this concept in mind, that we're going to have, basically, your stereo is just a bunch of circuits, and they're all looping and creating, we're creating a circuit, we're making electricity flow, and in this case, we're going to create music from your sound system. I hope that makes sense. Again, I'm doing this ad lib, so, you know, you guys give me a break. And if I say something crazy, you know, give me a chance to fix it, because I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. Okay guys, a little bit more. As we mentioned earlier, this is a double DIN unit. You can tell it's actually, like, as I stated earlier, it just means it's twice as high as this single DIN unit here. Okay, I know I'm talking a lot about the Alpine, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over what each wire is on the back. Now, like I showed you guys in a previous video, or a previous section, this is a really neat little tool to have. I'll strip away the black. I connect my negative like I showed you guys earlier. Connect that. Then my power wire. Oh, gotta be careful. This is live stuff here, so I don't want to pop any fuses. Take that, connect it here. Now, as I mentioned, my head unit's not going to come on. This right here is where you notice this wire is a little bit thicker, and what this one does is this is your power wire. This is actually what powers the unit and provides power to the speakers. This tiny little red wire here is called our accessory wire, and again, what this turns on when this turns the unit on. When you turn the car on, there's a little relay, and when you touch that or you put that together, I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but the unit just turned on. Okay, so basically that's what we've done. We've just powered the unit up. I don't have, hopefully I'm not babbling too much. Like I said, I'm trying to go through this step by step. So the unit's on. This particular unit has a iPod interface. I can hook up HD radio. I can do satellite radio. It's got a lot of neat options. Going on with the speaker, with these wires here, let me see. This blue wire here is actually my remote wire. What this one does is when this turns on, if I have an amplifier, this sends a small amount of voltage to the amp and tells the amplifier to turn on. And we're going to get into this in a lot more detail. Okay, this wire here is called, this is like a mute. If you have let's say you have a phone, or a phone that rings that you've got hooked up to this, it'll mute the stereo so you can hear the phone ringing. This one is your actual illumination. This one hooks up as well to your car. When you turn on the car and you turn the lights on, this sends a signal and tells the unit to dim so it's not so bright. This is if you had a power antenna. When this actually will send power to the motor relay on your power antenna. So when you turn the stereo on and put it in FM, this will tell the antenna to go up. Don't ever get these two confused, because if you a lot of people will use this blue wire, solid blue wire, to turn on their amp, and then what will happen is when they switch out of FM mode, their amps turn off. So I've seen that a lot of times. Had people ask me that question many times. They tell me, hey, my amp only works when it's on FM or AM, and that means you're using your power wire from your for your power antenna. So make sure you use the blue stripe, and usually it's labeled pretty clearly. Obviously this unit's been through a little bit of we've used it in a few demos, so all the wires are cut. And another thing is, when you get a new head unit, it's going to come with a manual and it'll show each one of these to you. But for the most part, these are all color coded the same. Okay, let me keep on going. Now we're going to get into the speaker wire. This is where the head unit is powering speakers directly. Like, let me see, the right front is usually the gray. Here's my gray. Here we go, where is it? Let's see, gray and gray. So what I'm doing here is, one is my positive and one's my negative. Generally, the negative is going to have the black line on it, and then the positive will just be that single color. So if I take this and plug it into the positive on my speaker, this and the negative, that's going to power up my speaker. Again, you're only going to get about 15 to maybe 20 watts from each of these channels. A channel is each of your speakers. Just think of a channel as front right speaker is channel 1, front left speaker channel 2, rear right speaker channel 3, channel 4. Now again, let me see, the gray is going to be the right front. Now the left front is generally the white wires. So here we have white, you have a positive again and a negative. And we're actually going to, in the next series, we'll actually go ahead and plug this in and get some music going. Then the violet, which is sometimes purplish, this is again your positive and negative, and that's for your right rear. And then the green, where's the other green? Let's see. There it is. Hello. Green is for my the left rear. Notice there's no subwoofer output. It's basically only for speakers. Now, we've pretty much covered every wire, and that's really all there is to it. Now, this is a harness for a Toyota, and what this does is, let me go ahead and open this up. We're going to simply match these colors to here. So I would take my red for my head unit, splice it into here, and then again, if you look at our kits, we include the tools and the crimp caps to make this work. The orange, the black, it's basically just matching up the colors, and I'll show you how to crimp this in a little bit, probably in the next series. And then all you have to do, what's really cool, is you just plug this straight into where your existing stereo was, and you don't have to cut any wires. Now, if you've got a JBL unit or an amplified unit, like a Bose or whatever system, most of the time Toyotas have JBL. You can't use this setup. There's another setup, and we'll do another video section on that. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of video sections, a lot of stuff to cover. And as you can tell, it's pretty easy so far. There's nothing that's really that difficult. If you can match colors and you can keep an eye out for positive and negative, it's really that simple. And if you look at our instructions, opening up the stereo, taking it apart, putting stuff together is actually pretty easy. I'm going to pause here for a second, and I'm going to grab a stock head unit and go over a few things.